Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time once again to board the NCC 1701, that beauty, as we watch Season 3 of Star Trek, the original series, Episode 15, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. That's a great title. And friends, it's with a heavy heart that I have to say that our journey in Star Trek, the original series, is coming to an end as we begin T-minus 10 episodes until the end of Season 3. What a long, strange trip it has been, but one that is only going to evolve as we go on to Star Trek Continues, Star Trek the Animated Series, The Next Generation, and beyond, my friends. I hope you all travel with me because I need all the help I can get. Before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel and it allows me to alert you next time we go live. And of course, if there's anything that we do, Star Trek the original series included, of course, our link to the Patreon is in the description. But my dear friends, all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to boldly go once again as we watch Star Trek the original series, Season 3, Episode 15, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. T-minus 10. Away we go! Oh, beauty. I'll never forget your beauty, and I will return to it often.
It has been attacked by a bacterial invasion which threatens to render it lifeless unless checked.
Bacterial?
Sensors indicate a space vehicle of some sort ahead.
Is it within visual range?
We got full crew, full bridge crew so far.
Of course.
Put it on the screen. Extreme magnification.
It's a shuttle.
I think that may be a Starfleet shuttlecraft, sir.
That is exactly.
Yeah.
Looks like the one reported stolen from Starbase 4 2 weeks ago.
Lieutenant Uhura.
Starbase 4.
Command frequency 2.
Aye, Captain.
Well, if it was stolen, they're probably not going to respond.
Captain, there is one living creature aboard. Humanoid. He is either injured or ill.
Lieutenant Sulu, activate tractor beams.
Tractor beams activated.
Wow, tractor beams before transporter.
Mr. Spock, come with me. Scotty?
I love that. We're going to bring it in. We're not going to beam whoever's in there over. We're going to bring them in.
Kirk here.
Hangar doors are closed and hangar deck is pressurizing.
Acknowledged.
Nice. Starbase 4. Does it have a name? Just Starbase 4.
Go on my command.
Start blasting. Whoo! I've seen these guys before. Anytime like the original series was talked about, usually these like half black, half white guys would be shown on like a promotional something. I don't know what they are, who they are, what they can do, but I remember that image. Jim's telling us about the Final Frontier. That's why I ran it for a little bit. Good setup. Good setup. So we had a bacterial infection. They're en route to help cleanse, cure, whatever. Ran across a shuttle stolen from Starbase 4. That's a new one. That's a new one. Love it. And we got the entire bridge crew. All we need now is McCoy, who I'm almost assured to be there. And if Christina's there, we will have all of the big 8. Very, very interested to see. Let that be your last battlefield. I keep trying to say, let this be your final battle. Same idea, I guess, but all right, let's get into this. Here we go. Let that be. Okay, writer-director. Teleplay by Oliver Crawford. Story by Lee Cronin. Judd Taylor. Lee and Judd work together on Wink of an Eye. Well, not creatives.
Bones, what do you make of it?
Well, I can't give you any specific circumstance that will explain him.
What do you mean?
There is no theory, Captain, from the basic work of Mandel to the most recent nucleotide studies which would explain our captive.
Big 8.
A mutation. One of a kind.
Yes, I would agree that's the case here.
Wow.
I've run tests. Blood is blood, even when it's green like yours. Now, I've enriched the oxygen content of his blood and pumped in a strong stimulant.
Can't tell what it's doing.
You're aboard the Starship Enterprise.
I've heard of it.
Really?
I am not a thief.
Well, certainly no ordinary thief, considering what it is you appropriated.
You're being very loose with your accusation.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for your rescue.
Don't mention it.
I like this dude. Can we get a name?
Who are you?
My name is Loci,
Okay.
Go on.
from the planet Charon.
That's in the southernmost part of the galaxy, in an uncharted quarter. What are you doing so far from home?
Cheroman?
You understand that when we complete our mission, we'll take you to Starbase, where you'll face a very serious charge.
The charge is trifling. I would have returned the ship as soon as I...
Did what?
What were you going to do?
You monotone humans are all alike.
Monotone.
We've never encountered a being like you. I'd like to know more about you and your planet.
I'm very tired.
And very evasive.
I insist. I'm extremely tired. Made so by your vindictive cross-examinations.
Oh, Bones, if you're satisfied that the mutation theory is applicable, I'll make a note of it in my report.
Unless we get more information from him, that'll have to serve.
What do we got?
Alien ship, sir.
I'll be right there. Notify Mr. Spock.
What was Loci here to do?
Still nothing, Mr. Chekhov.
I verify, sir. It's out there.
Cloaked?
I draw a blank, Mr. Spock. Your response?
Negative, Captain.
No malfunction, sir. The reading persists.
Cloaked. What do you got, Spock?
There is a vessel out there, Captain.
Could it be a Romulan ship, using their cloaking device?
Negative. This would not be a Romulan vessel.
Really? I'm loving this so far. What do we got?
Weaponry on the vessel, Spock?
Nothing identifiable. The craft appears to be built for speed rather than combat.
Something out there can't be seen.
That's a good sign, though.
Completely elusive. In fact, it's invisible.
Invisible.
Not cloaked, invisible. Holy shit.
It's headed straight for us.
How the hell can you tell that?
Reflector shields are activated, Mr. Sulu. Automatic, sir.
We're on collision course.
It's out of control or a suicide mission. I'm warning for collision. Red alert.
Oh, I like that. I like the in and out of the zoom. Anybody want to brace or?
Read out, Mr. Spock.
It just disintegrated.
What?
What is it now?
It is gone now, Captain.
Gone or?
Where?
Right here, Captain.
Riddle me this. Huge Batman fan here, everybody. That is Frank Gorshin, isn't it? I believe it is. Awesome. That is awesome.
I am Beale.
Of the planet Charon, no doubt.
Forgive my unorthodox arrival.
Your mode of travel was also unorthodox. What brings you to us?
You bear precious cargo, Loci. He's taken refuge aboard this ship. I am here to claim him.
And leave on what?
All personnel aboard this vessel are subject to my command.
He didn't ask for asylum.
I am Chief Officer of the Commission on Political Traitors. Loci was tried and convicted of treason, but had escaped. May I see him, please?
Wow.
Remember, since you're aboard the Enterprise, you're bound by its regulations.
With your permission, Captain.
I love his delivery. Oh my God. This race is super duper awesome.
This time, I'm sure our joining will be of a more permanent nature.
They're opposites. His right side is dark. His left side's dark.
He's a liar. He raided our homes, tore us from our families, herded us together like cattle, and then sold us as slaves.
You repaid us with murder.
Why should a slave show mercy to the enslaver?
Slaves. That was changed thousands of years ago. You were freed.
Freed?
Vicious subverter of every decent thought. Oh, you're coming back to pay for your crimes.
I know you.
God damn!
When I return to Charon, you will understand what power is. I will have armies of followers.
It is now very clear that you know each other.
This shit is great.
It is not a battlefield.
Captain, I led revolutionaries, not criminals. I demand political asylum. This ship is a sanctuary.
You have to grant it.
Commissioner Sharon is not a member of the Federation. No treaties have ever been signed. Your demand for possession of this prisoner cannot be honored.
Not by me.
Captain, I hope you will be sensible.
How do you mean?
Cooperation.
It's Beale, right?
Since I am without a vessel to return to Sharon, I insist that you take us there immediately.
What?
There's a planet to be decontaminated. Millions of lives are at stake. Once that has been completed, I'll return to Starbase 4 and turn you both over to the Authority.
Well, Beale hasn't done anything.
I'm sorry, Captain. That will not be satisfactory. Not at all satisfactory.
This is great.
I think we can consider your problem settled.
Really? I wouldn't leave them alone.
Guest quarters for you on deck 6.
That was one of the best exchanges I've ever seen in the show.
Check off to Captain Kirk. Check off to Captain Kirk. Urgent.
We don't have another ship, do we?
Well, get back on course.
That's just it, sir. The ship's taken a no heading off by itself.
Oh boy. So it'd be like Sharonans? Sharonians?
Explanation, Mr. Spock.
Elusive, Captain. I am investigating.
I can't understand it. I simply have no control.
Kirk to engineering.
Yeah, Scotty. All the light shifted as soon as he hit that one sequence.
Scotty, we're still off course.
I'll be right up.
Oh, I thought that was us readjusting.
The ship is on red alert. There has been an unidentified malfunction in the ship's directional control.
That's too much of that.
Off course and out of our
We have no security guards stationed on these guys.
Sharon lies between 403 Mark 7 and Mark 9.
For 50,000 of your terrestrial years, I have been pursuing loci through the galaxy.
What?
This ship goes where my will drives it.
Captain, we are now at warp 10 and the speed is increasing. Stop it.
Not this time, you evil mound of filth. Not this time.
My cause is just. You must help me.
Wow.
For the old cry, pity me, pity me. Everywhere he's gone, he's been helped to escape. On every planet, he has found fools who bleed for him and shed tears for the oppressed one.
You're two of a kind.
And we are both going to Sharon. You cannot change the course of this ship any more than you can change me. This ship goes where I want it to go.
security. Put them both in the brig.
Careful.
Phasers, on stun.
Your phasers are ineffective against our shields. You are helpless, Captain.
What a fool I am. Expecting help from someone like you.
Okay, Lokai. Get effed.
This ship is going to Sharon. I will let nothing interfere.
Frank is killing it. I mean, killing it.
I am captain of this ship, and it will follow whatever course I set for it, or I will order its destruction.
Whew.
Bluffing.
Ah, you ain't played poker with Jim Kirk.
You can no more destroy this ship than I can change color.
Already?
Computer, this is Captain James Kirk of the USS Enterprise.
Deal Jim in.
Destruct sequence 1, code 1, 1A.
Hasn't blinked yet. He hasn't blinked yet.
Sequence 1 complete.
That's a great shot.
Destruct sequence number 2, code 1, 1A, 2B.
That should be it, right?
Mr. Scott?
Hasn't blinked yet. Whoo!
Destruct sequence completed and engaged. Awaiting final code for 30-second countdown.
This is Captain James Kirk of the USS Enterprise. Begin 30-second countdown.
Still hasn't blinked.
28. 27.
Oh, they went to commercial. Oh my God, what pricks.
Let's see you prevent the computer from fulfilling my commands.
He knows he can't do it. Loci knows he can't do it.
From 5 to 0, no command in the universe can prevent the computer from fulfilling its destructive.
Really, from 5 to 0.
Mine is the final command.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
I agree!
Computer,
Wow. One of my favorite scenes.
I warned you of his treachery. Kill him!
we're waiting for you to fulfill your commitment, Commissioner.
Get to the brig.
Please, take me and my traitorous captive to Sharon.
I make no deals for control of this ship, sir.
Not even a bone. Not even like maybe we can talk to somebody to get you a ride. No. Absolute. Jim's the chair. The chair is Jim. Come on, dickhead. Are you going to try this again against Jim?
The ship's course is now in your control.
Enterprise is now on course to Arianas, Captain.
The need to resort to violence and force has long since passed, and it will not be tolerated aboard this ship. You are free to
Great shot.
hope that you'll take the opportunity to know more about the Federation through its best representatives, my crew.
It's people. Yeah.
I will stand for no interference with the function of this ship.
We're like killing each other. You can leave your chips on the table. They're Jim's anyways.
You speak very well, Captain. Your words promise justice for all.
Get the fuck out. You too, dude.
To wait for actions. After Arianas, what is justice? I shall wait to see it dispensed.
Both of these guys are absolutely great.
Fascinating.
Me too, Spock. I'm with you.
Mr. Spock, the word disgusting describes exactly what I feel about those two.
No, they just have like their polarizing sides. They have two huge swings in their emotions.
I act the madman out of the anger and frustration he forces upon me, and thereby prove his point that I am a madman.
Yeah, well.
See all those who are like me, and only because they are like
Yep, here he
spies, slaughtered, and even worse, denied.
This is a great shot right here. Cool planet.
How long will it be before we hear from them, Captain?
I expect the answer is already on its way.
Well, then let us drink to their wise solution to our problem.
That's true.
Oh, this is very civilized.
There is the matter of the shuttlecraft, which Loci appropriated.
If you didn't kill anybody, let's get rid of that.
One thing we are agreed on is that Loci is a criminal.
No, Commissioner, the one thing we agreed upon is that Loci took a shuttlecraft.
That's the only thing we know for sure.
His urgent request to be transported to his planet with the man he claims prisoner has been taken under consideration. It is with great regret that we cannot honor that request. In view of the circumstances, we have no doubt that after a hearing at Starbase, Commissioner Beale will be permitted to retain his prisoner.
I mean, that's about the most you can hope for, dude.
It is obvious to the most simple-minded that Loci is of an inferior breed.
The obvious visual evidence, Commissioner, is that he is of the same breed as yourself.
That's a huge insult. Right side's dark, his left side's dark.
You're black on one side and white on the other.
I am black on the right side. Loci is white on the right side. All of his people are white on the right side.
Maybe he can change. Maybe he wants to
He cannot
change.
Change is the essential process of all existence.
Evolution.
Once being monocolored.
You mean like both of you?
Like you guys? I love their look. I love it.
Ready for decontamination procedure.
Ready, sir?
Ready here.
Ready, Mr. Scott?
Mr. Sulu, lock into coordinates requested by Arianas.
Why are they showing us this?
Ariana says, go ahead.
Well, let her rip.
I don't like that they're showing us this. I don't like that they're showing us this at all.
Set directional controls for Starbase 4. Kirk out.
I'm not sure why they showed us that.
The crew is on normal routine, and we are proceeding without incident.
They had a bay open on the bottom, didn't it? I guess that's where they were.
The directional control and the self-destruct, Captain, are both burnt out. I did it like this.
Okay.
In a deliberate act of sabotage, Commissioner Beale has burned out our
Sabotage.
Will you continue to let this mockery of justice go on? If you are partisans of justice, prove it. Kill him.
How?
I'll take you with me, you half-blood.
Yeah, let him fight.
You keep this up and you'll never get to Sharon with your prisoner. The bridge of the ship will be irreparably damaged. This will be your final battlefield. You'll inspire no more disciples. Your cause will be ended.
Remember, Captain, political sanctuary is my right.
If you listen to his legalistic trickery, I shall have to destroy this ship and everybody aboard.
I understand. Will you return the Enterprise to my control?
What's the compromise here?
Control's operating, Captain. The Enterprise is responding as always. Captain, it's beautiful.
Locking onto coordinates.
Captain, we are within scanning range of Sharon.
That was quick.
Several very large cities, uninhabited. Extensive traffic systems, barren of traffic. There is no evidence of natural disaster, yet there are vast numbers of unburied corpses in all cities.
What? Plague?
All dead, Captain. They have annihilated each other. Totally.
My people, all dead.
Oh my God.
No one alive?
None at all, sir.
They're the last two.
The cause you fought about no longer exists. Give yourselves time to breathe. Give up your hate. You're welcome to live with us. Both must end up dead. If you don't stop hating.
You're an idealistic dreamer.
Chase is finished.
He must not escape me.
He knows nothing else. He knows nothing else.
Shall I alert security, sir?
No, Lieutenant.
We know where they're going. Ho! He looks like he's dying. I mean, even after the destruction of their entire civilization, they can't stop fighting. Are we sure these guys aren't human? Yeah, transporter.
Then someone has activated the transporter mechanism.
Let him. Let him. You're gonna beam down there and you guys are just gonna fight it out?
And another life form has appeared on Sharon.
Let's get out of here. Leave it. There's gonna be no life forms on Sharon, and
All that matters to them is their hate.
Do you suppose that's all they ever had, sir?
No,
50,000 years.
but that's all they have left. What factor 2, Mr. Sulu?
Let's get the hell out of here. Wow, what a good episode. Holy smokes, that's probably my favorite of season 3. All right, everybody, we just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, season 3, episode 15. Let that be your last battlefield. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching the 15th episode of the 3rd season and final season of Star Trek, the original series. The 10th in our T-10 episodes that we have remaining. Let that be your last battlefield. Boy, I think this was my favorite one. Frank Gorshin, who that was, I actually had to double check. I was 99% sure. I just didn't want to continue down that road if it was in fact not the Riddler. But incredible performance. I thought that he did one of my favorite guest stars of all time on Star Trek, the original series. Incredibly cool. I loved the aliens design, that polarizing, dark and white. Really, really cool stuff. Obviously, too, there was a lot of racial stuff that was going into that, basically allusions to what would have been then 1960s America, especially talking about subjugation and slavery and just basically at the very least, delineation and class structure. And what I thought was great was, you had Beale who was like, what are you talking about? I'm dark on my right side. He's dark on his left side. That was enough. And it makes no sense other than you are the, air quote, other. And I think they did that very well. And I think that, it's a great theme to explore. It's one that Star Trek never shies away from. They never shy away from things like that. I love the continued proclamation and reinforcement of our future is a better place. But we had all of these problems. We went through all of these things, but ultimately, we realized that there is a much better way to do this of peace, a much better way. I think of what he told Alexander, on my planet, it doesn't matter what you look like, how tall or big you are, what color skin you have, it doesn't matter. That's a thing of the past for us. And I love the reinforcement of it. And, but on that side, we know how the Federation is. We know that the Federation and its ideals and whatnot, and that it's succeeded. It's conquered a lot of the really backwards way of thinking that Earth had had. But I think it is absolutely imperative that they continue to reinforce. They give you a problem of similar nature between Bio and Loci, that this racial animosity that they have. And they make it in such a way like, why are you guys doing this? Why are you fighting? This makes no sense whatsoever. And then when you find out you're the last two, presumably the last two of your species, you continue the fight. You annihilated one another. You destroyed your entire culture. For what? And I think that the presentation of that is exactly the way it's supposed to be. What do you do then? What do you do? You have your hate has led you to this. It is. See it through. At that point, I guess that's all they could. They could only conceive of just completing it, just getting it. Basically, canceling out the ledger, totaling out everything, zero sum, moving on. Excellent stuff. The acting was absolutely superb in this one. Bill Shatner did a great job playing off of the two of them. Really strong performance by Bill, one of his best. And Bill wasn't asked to do too terribly much in this one, other than basically play like acting referee. Usually they would run real hot. Loci or Bio would go real hot as like one extreme of their nature, and then they become much more reserved. They could negotiate and compromise, and they sounded rational, and then they'd fire up again. And it was more Bill Shatner's job to kind of, he would reach towards some of those like highly, charged, very warm, the temperature rising scenes, but he would peak a little bit, and then he would try to bring him back down. It was really, I was enthralled. I wish I didn't say much during this reaction. That first exchange when they go into sickbay and Frank as Beale absolutely rips into Loci, I knew we were in for a fun ride. Incredibly good stuff. This is one of the ones. And I know how silly this sounds because I literally just started watching the original series a little over a year ago with all of you. This is one that makes me so proud that I watched the original series and that I'm a fan of the original series and that I got to experience this, especially with all of you, watching this great episode. And again, this is another thing that I always kind of refer to with Star Trek, the original series, is that there are episodes that maybe the majority of fans think isn't very great or is just downright awful. And then there is a minority, a handful of people that absolutely love that episode. Like it's their favorite. Like that one of the guest stars is their favorite, or a moment is their favorite, or a bit of action's their favorite. A joke, a line, something is what they, or it was something that had, I used to watch that with my fill in the blank, brother, dad, mom, sister, whatever it happened to be. I love those stories. I love those stories because it speaks of like this universal quality that Star Trek has. And for this episode, I just feel a pride, I feel a pride about being able to witness such strong acting, being able to see such a really like a really well-developed, in my opinion, and again, what do I know, but in my opinion, it was a theme that was done with respect, as far as like this racial animosity and hatred. And at the same time, it was weighted. This is a terrible, terrible ordeal that this planet is going through. And at the same time, it was presented in such a way as to make it ludicrous. Why are we doing this? And having the Federation on the other side of it, like, yeah, back in the 20th century, we had the same thing, but we grew past it. We realized how absolutely asinine it was, and we were able to become a better, become the epitome, the apex of what humanity could be. And I love that idea. And it's just it's filled with such hope. It's a presentation of here's where we are now. We are Lokai and Beale. We are them right now. But what we could be is we could be the crew of the NCC 1701 in minimum and the Federation at large. And I just think that is such almost a beautiful story. It's so topical, and at this, especially for when it came out, and it was just done with such an attack. I often talk about this, especially with Babylon 5, that they were fearless at the beginning of that series. Fearless, bringing up religion, bringing up things that are the third rail of a narrative, especially when we're trying to build an audience base. And I think that Star Trek does that the best because they are never scared of being, this is utter stupidity. This current mindset of America, Earth, wherever you want to, is utterly ridiculous. And we're going to talk about it, and whether or not you see it inside the story that we're weaving, that's one thing. And if you do, then hopefully it reaches a couple people in there. Fearless writing in this one, fearless attacking, fearless, just really, this was absolutely one of my favorites of season 3, probably one of my favorites across the series. I just think that what it did for what it was going for in the acting, they brought in incredible actors to get this point across. Really, really good stuff. But I need to know everything there is to know about this episode. I need to know everything about let this be your last battlefield. I need to know. And there's only one person that can gift us with this insight. General? Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane, retired. Friends, after having watched and reacted to an original series episode of Star Trek, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras. Because as we've often said, the story behind the cameras of Star Trek can often be just as juicy, if not juicier, than the story they put in front of the cameras. But to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 categories to explore. The first of which, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth and juiciest of the categories, the production notes. What went on behind the cameras? And last but certainly not least, our 5th category, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my friends, and for our very first category of writer and director, who are they? Well, we have some returning favorites here at the original series. Our writer for this episode is none other than Gene Coon's pseudonym, Lee Cronin. A little bit more on that when we get down to production notes. And our director was also a returning favorite, Judd Taylor from Paradise Syndrome and Wink of an Eye, excuse me. Great stuff. A little bit about Judd Taylor, too, when we get down into production notes. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our second category, guest stars, did we have any? Coincidentally, we had 2. Friends, we had Lou Antonio as Lokai, and we had my guy, Frank Gorshin, as Beale. Absolutely fantastic castings on both parts. Tour de force acting, really fantastic stuff, especially by Frank. Amazing work by him. In fact, some of the best I've seen from Gorshin. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Let's move on. And now, my dear friends, for the third category, or our third category of the core cast, or the Big 8, who was present? Well, who are the Big 8? Well, we've got Kirk, Spock, McCoy, we've got Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and we also have Chekhov and Nurse Chapel. Good news, everyone! All hands present and accounted for. Let's move on. All right, friends, and now it's time for our 4th category, or the production notes, usually the juiciest of all of our categories, because now we find out what truly went on behind the cameras. And during season 3, all bets are off. Let's get started. All right, friends, and for our first production note, I thought this is bittersweet. But again, anytime we see Lee Cronin or Gene Coon, an absolute Mount Rushmore of Star Trek, we're in for a bit of a treat no matter what, because I always find Coon's writing to be so well done and so, thought out. And I thought that this episode was just indicative of that. But unfortunately, this is the last we will see of Lee Cronin or Gene Coon in Star Trek, the original series. Sigh. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our second production note, this one deals with the fact that this episode ran short. It ran short, and because they needed to they knew it. They knew that they were going to be short. They added in the chase scene at the end between our two protagonist guys as Lokai and Beale, chased one another through the ship towards the transporter room, and then, of course, down to the planet. But during that time, it was interspliced with pictures of, bombed out buildings on fire from World War II, sort of just to kind of build upon the idea of what had happened to them, what the entire race was destroyed by hate and destruction. I think it actually worked really well. It didn't seem like a filler. It put it in now in retrospect. It kind of drug on a little bit long, but it was well done. It wasn't something that they needed to really explain, I think. But it's interesting that that much thought was put into something to buy a little bit of time, and it worked out as well as it did. Let's move on. And now for our third production note, my friends. Beale's completely invisible ship pretty much sums up what was going on in season 3 of Star Trek. They couldn't get a model done. They didn't have anything. They didn't have the money to use anything. They couldn't use like a cloaking device or anything like that because it wouldn't work, presumably, according to the script notes. So they decided to go with this out of the blue, not really cloaked, but just purely, completely, and utterly invisible ship, which was convenient if you're looking to save money on a spacecraft, but a little inconvenient if, you're a fan of the show and you're watching it and you're realizing they're just out of money. Let's move on. All right, my friends, and for our fourth and final category, because this one's a little bit bigger, I wanted to put in the critical reaction from this episode because I liked it very much, and I thought that it did a really good job of kind of discussing the themes that it wanted to discuss and, making them overt enough to be picked up on, obviously, but also, not being too preachy and keeping it within the realm of sci-fi. They walked a tightrope, and I think they walked it very well. But the critical reception was mixed, to say the least. Harlan Ellison, the sci-fi writer, I didn't like the episode, but I read every quote. Well, I'm sure I read I read several quotes from him. And it wasn't so much that he disliked the episode, he disliked Gene Roddenberry. And basically what he called like Hollywood liberalism. And again, not to get political or anything like that, these are his words and his quotes. He basically said, while it was a civil rights themed episode, which it obviously was, or hinted at or influenced by, he said that he didn't know of Gene Coon ever giving, donating money or promoting the cause via monetary means or supporting it in any other manner outside of the show. I have mixed feelings about that because, you shouldn't damn the whole episode because you're not really a fan of the creator of the show. But I mean, I understand the point. I understand, it's a charged topic. And of course, you're going to have very heated, very, temperature rising on a few of these comments. So we had Harlan Ellison that said it that way, and we had Armin Shimmerman, who goes on to play none other than Quark, give this quote. And I thought I would read it in its entirety because I think that it is it's interesting that someone that would become a part of the Star Trek family had this to say about this episode. Most of Star Trek, whether it's our show or the other shows, was intended to be a metaphor for social evils. In Gene Roddenberry's first show, the original series, every episode was addressing some social inequality, racism being one of them. Let That Be Your Last Battlefield with Frank Gorshin was one of the most powerful episodes of the series. Two sets of races were living on one planet, and their faces were each divided between white and black. One had black on the right side of their face, the other had white on the right side. It made no sense that one race should dominate over another simply because the colors were reversed. I remember being enormously affected by that episode as a young man. I think that's very interesting to have that kind of profound influence upon somebody who would eventually inhabit and promote the world in which, many of these people created. And, the impact is obviously there. Interesting, interesting stuff, my friends. Never shied away. Fearless storytelling. No matter which side of the spectrum people came on politically, it's fearless writing. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fifth and final category, a memorable quote from this episode. And this is the first time I have a memorable quote with multiple people contributing to the quote, because you have to go a couple lines for the payoff. And you have a payoff from Spock and a payoff from Kirk in here. So we have Uhura, Spock, Sulu, Spock, Uhura, and Kirk talking in that order. So as it starts, the memorable quote goes like this. Uhura says, "It doesn't make any sense." Spock says, "To expect sense from two mentalities of such extreme viewpoints is not logical." Sulu says, "But their planet's dead. Does it matter now which one of them was right?" And Spock says, "Not to Lokai and Beale. All that matters to them is their hate." Uhura says, "Do you suppose that's all they ever had, sir?" And Kirk says, "No, but that's all they have left." That's a good one. Thus ends another installment of Q&A. Until such time as you and I get to play with our dear friend Jim again, behave yourselves.